So today, I'm going to end up hurting myself going to the Department of Health and Human Services and Welfare. I'm going to force my body. Now, it's a nice day, not too cold. I'm dressed, overdressed like I always do. I got a cane. I got my paperwork, stuff like that. So I'm going. Now I'm going to squat, go, squat, go, squat, go. I might have to crawl a little bit, but I'm doing much better. So I think it's only going to be a squat, get up, squat, get up, squat, get up. Now, the real problem is when I get to the Department of Health and Human Services, they're just going to play a game. They're going to tell me nobody's there to see me. They can't make an appointment. There's no workers there at all. Beth closed my case. I don't have a worker. They're going to come up with so many excuses. On top of this, they're going to judge me and try to fucking fuck with me. Like, for instance, because I'm walking, they're going to say, oh, you look good walking today, even though I'm squatted. They're going to, I guarantee you, they see me squat and using a cane. They see me in pain struggling, but they still say, oh, you're fine. See, you're lying. You're fine. You don't need a wheelchair. I don't want a wheelchair anyway, so go fuck yourself. That type of shit. But I don't tell them that. I just say, uh huh, okay. I'm always nice with these people. I can't swear, I can't be that because my mother tried to make me seem to be like this homicidal person. By the way, if I do end up living in the woods because my mother and father continue to fuck up, I can't use the shelter. Why? Because my mother and father made bad decisions. I can never use a shelter until I get documentation of my disabilities. Then I can go to shelter. I can't drive or sleep in a car. Why? My mother and father made bad decisions. Why? Because I need documentation and I need a year free of my disability before I can drive. Okay. How about Social Security? Nope, my father and mother lied to Social Security, manipulated Social Security. My father inappropriately put funds in his own pocket, paid for his own house when I was supposed to be paying my housing. I was in a nice little program that was teaching people how to use their Social Security, how to make out a budget. They even have a worker there that helps you reapply for Social Security. But my father lied to them, lied to me, kept the money, and I got thrown out, and I bailed him out of that one. So I can't get Social Security or cash benefits. How about work? Can I work? Well, I do that over and over and over and over. I love working. It's one of my favorite things to do is run gas stations by myself or run a convenience store by myself. I love it. But I get injured and hospitalized over and over and over. And here's a key part. If you do the same thing over and over and over and over, and you expect different results, the definition of that is insanity. So, literally, I can't keep on doing that and getting injured. I've been pulled out of work in an ambulance. I have fallen in front of customers. I've fallen on the way to work. I've had cars run over my hair 1 inch from popping my head like a blueberry. I've also caught COVID and been forced to work while having the flu because doctors don't want to help me. Why? Why do doctors mistreat me? Because my father and mother spent 15 years giving them bad information. Here's a key part of this. If a doctor is only as good as the information he's using, and this is a real fact, doctors are only as good as the information they're given. Now, my mother and father gave them information to get me killed for 15 years. They gave them information so I would never ever be able to report them. They spent 15 years covering their tracks and trafficking me to Texas, New Mexico, Maine, Mass, all over the place. So, of course, when I go to the doctors and I try to get help, they don't do it. They just base their treatments on my mother's information, my mother's fantasies. And this is the problem. Doctors keep on basing their help or their what they're going to do on the information they were given by a dead mother and a father who's greedy. And when I mean greedy, I mean he's willing. When I got abused in New Mexico and he brought the people who did it to court, do you think that he tried to use that in some fund to get me better? No, he talked about how he had to recoup his losses, how he paid to have me put in there, and that he wanted his money back. So that's all he was thinking about. He didn't go to court because his son was abused. He went to court because he paid somebody and they didn't give him what he wanted. So he recouped his losses and then just did the same mistake. He didn't learn anything from it. He didn't think about what happened to me. He didn't think about what could happen to me. No, he thought about the money. Now that's how he feeds into a deadly sin. He's fed into a couple deadly sins, one of which is greed. Now, me, I have my own mistakes. I'm not perfect. I'm not no angel. I had a drug habit from the age of 19, or actually, sorry, 21 to 23. I was really heavily drinking and using opiates. But I decided that I wanted to face this head on at about 24-ish. I even tried to amend this and tell my father about this. I moved into it with him for one summer. It was just summer. I got a job working at Hannaford's. And I gave him the money. He had me give him money. Now, on top of this, I tried to have a conversation with him about how I almost died on a pile of newspapers, and how my mother crippled me. I tried to talk to him about that. You know what he said? "Don't talk about your mother bad. I don't want to hear it." That's what my father said. So we didn't get too far talking about this. He doesn't want to hear it. Instead, he wants to try to call the Department of Health and Human Services and tell them I'm some big fat liar and I like to tell stories. Of course, that's going to get me killed, because if I'm telling stories, then I'm not going to get my Social Security and I'm not going to get any help, am I? And I really need this. I'm really hurt. I'm falling on sides of the road. I'm all bloody. I have pictures of my head looking like Frankenstein. There's blood in the room from a seizure still. I still can't walk during winter. Of course I need this. Of course it's real. People have been seeing it for 25 years and telling me about it. This isn't something I just came up with this year. No. Teachers, doctors, people have been noticing this for 25 years. I had to work real hard to try to move past what my mother did to me and forgive her. And it took a lot of mental strength to process all of this. And I am doing nothing but telling the truth. So help me God, this is all the truth. It's my dying. I am literally going to die very soon in the woods. And that's part of the reason why I do these videos. So people can understand what really happened. Why I had to die for somebody else's choices. It's not a big deal. And most people would just go to a shelter, go sleep in their car. But I can't do either of those. So what does a man who his parents decided that they would fuck him up good, what is he supposed to do? He can't work, he can't use a shelter, he can't get Social Security, and he can't sleep in a car or get a car. Tell me, how am I supposed to survive? How am I supposed to stay alive? I'm not even allowed to make a fire in the woods to stay warm at night. I'm not kidding. My mother had me sign paperwork that I'm never allowed to have fire. Never, ever, ever. Why? Because I did a science experiment to see if slugs are fireproof. A slug, those little wet sluggy things. And I also had, I was in a mental institution for 30 days, thanks to burning this slug. On top of this, I was held down and given my medications twice in the same hour. I still have flashbacks of this evil woman smiling as I scream in pain. They're holding me down, forcing drugs down my throat, injecting me with drugs. And then, oh my God, did I feel shitty for the whole day. If you give a kid a double dose of Thorazine, Seroquel, Xanax, all those crazy, or risperidone, Lamictal. These are the meds they gave me a double dose of. Maybe not those exact meds, but these are the type of meds that, and there was at least 5. There was at least 5 meds I was held down and given a double dose of. So tell me, how is somebody supposed to move forward? Now, I'm following Jesus. That's part of my moving forward. I have to follow Jesus in a straight line. Meaning, even if it hurts, even if it kills me, I'm not allowed to do anything evil. If somebody says, I will give you 20 grand if you go and do this evil deed, I have to say no, even if I need that money, or I'm staying with somebody and somebody says, go steal me a gallon of milk, or I'm throwing your ass out, or go commit a sin, or I'm throwing your ass to a street. Even if it's a small sin, I have to say no. I have to say no, I can't do it. But my father and his new wife, they will lie. They will manipulate. They'll try to cover their tracks, even if it kills me. Even if it kills their son. They would rather have their happiness. That my father and his aunt, and my aunt, who my father married after my mother died. And keep in mind, my father's new wife knows nothing of the situation. But she does pretend like she does on the phone when she's calling these people. Oh, he's just nuts. He's a storyteller. Oh, he's homicidal. He's suicidal. He's depressed. He's nuts. He's bipolar. Whatever gets them off the topic. Then they try to make me seem like some storyteller. I've never made a lie for any gain in my life. That's not me. I believe in honesty. I was the one coming forward with my father with mistakes I made, like a bottle of wine. There was a bottle of wine at the age of like 16 I hid under this thing. Why did I steal this bottle of wine? To get back at my mother. Now, 2 years prior, my mother was trying to blame me for her own drinking. There was a bottle of like vodka or something that went missing down in the basement. Now, my mother, or maybe it was wine too, I don't really know. All I remember is my mother blaming me for her own drinking for 2 weeks. Eventually, after I cried and cried for 2 weeks about I didn't do it, what the hell's going on? I was in the program. I can't drink. I was in the program. Doesn't matter. Eventually, she came clean. But I know my mother. She definitely didn't come clean with my father. She came clean because I kept on having problems with it, and I wasn't going to allow her to lie about me in front of a DMH worker. That would drive me over the edge, blaming me for your own mistakes, and then trying to tell the DMH worker. I mean, that would be over the edge. I mean, my mother used to do all types of fucked up shit. But whenever she made a mistake or anything was going wrong or I had to go to therapy, it was my fault. Always my fault, no matter what it was. Whose fault was it we went to Texas? Oh, the 7-year-old. It was my fault we went to Texas. It was my fault my mother was drinking during the day and trying to hide it. It was my fault that my mother had to go to therapy. It's all my fault. Anyways, so keep that in mind with this video. I am definitely fucked. I can't use a shelter. I can't use a car. I can't sleep in the car. I can't get my Social Security. And if I work, I get injured and I fall down in front of customers and bad things happen. So what choices do I have? Because I'm told this is all my fault. My father tries to blame this on me. Apparently at 7 years old, that overdose was my fault. Apparently, the fact that I couldn't move my body right at 7 years old and the teachers were telling me about it, that's my fault. Because I had a seizure in the woods in New Mexico, and I was abused in New Mexico, and I have PTSD from what my mother was doing and New Mexico was doing, that's my fault. My mother, at the age of 5, 6, and 7, was making up mental illnesses. For example, I won a swimming medal, and my mother made that into I'm a liar, I'm a thief, and I have attachment disorder. They still do this today, by the way. I'm 31 years old, and my father and his new wife still try to make up stories and tell them I'm a liar, I'm a thief. I make up stories. This is what my father tells, and his new wife tells everybody who's trying to help me. Anytime I try to get help, my father and his wives just say, oh no, he's a storyteller. He likes to make up lies. That's what he does. Even though I follow Jesus and I've never ever lied. This isn't something I do. Maybe I've been mistaken. Maybe as a child I wanted to get out of trouble or something like any other kid. But I lie less than any other person I've ever met. There's no lying involved. That is not part of this. But they do. My father absolutely lies. I mean, he made a deal, looked me straight in the eyes, shook my hand, and then bailed out. That was a straight up lie. He lied about the Social Security to the program, to the DMH worker, to me, and got me thrown out. My mother lied about her drinking. They have lied. And now I need help from the Department of Health and Human Services. I need help from a neurologist. I need help from my primary care. And they're lying to prevent me from going any further. So, what are my choices? I don't have any. My only choice is to die in the woods. Nobody has called my phones. Nobody has reached out. The only person I think that could actually help me is my sister Valerie. Only because she's so close to my father. But I don't think she's going to call me. So, we'll stop this here.